Hello again and welcome to part 2 of different types of lines. Now in this exercise I'm going to be copying this given example onto the empty space. The drawing of the given example represents an object which has to be folded. In this case, this object is made of plastic and it has to be folded on either a strip wire heater or with a hot air gun. Now first we're going to be drawing the outline of this plastic object, and as you can see later on we're going to be drawing the fold line and the center lines. As you can see here, the center lines are always drawn as two crossing center lines to indicate where the center of that circle is. Now of course, this time we don't have a starting line, so I'm going to leave a gap between my work and the given example. Let's make a space of 7 squares. 7 squares should be enough. Now make sure to make a mark where you're going to be starting. Now let's start by drawing the baseline. The baseline is 12 squares to the right. So let's go to that mark and count 12 squares to the right, make a mark, and then draw a construction line. For now, once again, we always start with construction lines. We will darken our lines later on. And now let's move on to the two vertical lines. The two vertical lines are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 17 squares high. Okay, so let's start from that point and count 17 squares up. Of course, there is an alternative. Rather than counting squares, you could simply project the same height from the given example onto your work. However, this only counts if you started your work from the same baseline on where the given example starts. Otherwise, if you have started on a different baseline, you would have to count the squares. Now let's join these two lines together by using construction lines. And now let's draw the fold line. The fold line here is 4 squares up. So let's mark it from both sides of our work, of course. And now let's start to draw our fold line. The fold line, again, similar to a center line, it's made up of mostly 3 long lines, and then in those gaps you have 2 shorter lines. Here, to make it more equal, I'm first starting with the long lines on the side and then the midline. And in my remaining gaps, I'm going to draw the 2 shorter lines. And now let's move on to drawing the circle. To draw the circle, of course, you're going to need a compass. Now, the circle has a radius of 3 squares. So rest the needle at the center of your given example. So rest the needle on the center of the circle of your given example and open your compass, rest your pencil, that is, 3 squares to the left or right. It depends on where you're holding your compass. Now leave the radius of your compass the way it is. Do not touch it and do not alter it in any way. Just put your compass on the side. And now let's find where the center of this circle is located on this shape. So let's start counting from this point and go 6 squares down. So count 6 squares down, make a mark. Then from the last point, we're going to move 6 squares to the left. And that's going to be our center. So mark it with a cross. That's going to be the center of our circle. Grab your compass, rest the needle on the center of your circle. Hold the compass from the knob. And then turn it slowly to draw your circle. Careful, make sure that the pencil does not slip. Make sure that while drawing your circle, you're always applying pressure down on the needle. And now let's draw the center lines. To draw the center lines, to make them look more equal, I'm going to immediately draw them together. So first I'm going to start with the mid cross over there. So I'm going to start with the long lines crossing each other. Then I'm going to draw the shorter lines. And then, of course, I'm going to be drawing the last long lines at the end. Of course, now that the shape is finished, now we have to darken the outlines to make our final shape show more. Alright, now that is our finished example. I hope you found this video interesting and helpful. Now see you on the next one.